Situated halfway between Hawaii and Papua New Guinea, in a remote part of the Pacific, is the Republic of the Marshall Islands. It's one of the most isolated nations on Earth and is comprised of over 1,000 small islands and atolls. The Marshall Islands are home to 70,000 people, the majority of whom live on Majuro Atoll, the country's capital. It was in 1986 that the islands became independent. Prior to that, they were governed by the United States, with disastrous consequences for many Marshallese people. Between 1946 and 1958, the US tested 67 nuclear bombs here. These detonations were up to 1,000 times more powerful than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. Communities were displaced, and the nuclear fallout caused widespread and serious health problems, which still linger to this day. Yet, in the face of such adversity, the people of the Marshall Islands have rebuilt their lives and their nation. They're a proud people who bear little ill will to the Americans. In fact, US culture holds a big influence here, and the dream for many young Marshallese people is to one day move to the States, where they can stay indefinitely without a visa. When it comes to sport, by far the most popular in the Marshall Islands is basketball, which was introduced by the Americans in the late 1960s. Basketball is played everywhere here. The sport is such a big deal that when a new court is built, the country's president, Christopher Loiak, turns up as guest of honor at the official opening.
Basketball is without doubt the #1 sport here. The Marshallese people have a great passion for it. It's a big part of their lives. Volleyball and softball are also popular, but they don't come close to basketball. However, we do have a problem here in the Marshall Islands in that there is a lack of good sporting facilities. So when a new court is available for people to play on, it's a source of great excitement.
There's no indoor basketball court in the Marshall Islands, and so games are played at the mercy of the elements, be that the frequent tropical storms or the searingly hot temperatures experienced during the day. As a result of the heat, most competitive matches take place in the evening. That's also the time when the national team of the Marshall Islands gets together to train. They're a young side who are a rising force in the Micronesian region. Robert Pino is their coach.
The Marshall Islands national team is fairly small, and that's a disadvantage. But what we do have is plenty of speed. We play mostly a running game. Our aim over the next few years is to develop our crop of young players and mould them into a strong unit. I think we can eclipse other teams in our region, such as Guam, Fiji, and New Caledonia.
The leading light of the Marshall Islands basketball scene is 17-year-old Kyle Paul. He's the youngest player in the national squad and someone we were keen to find out more about.
He's our big hope. If he keeps on progressing, then he could be the greatest player we've ever produced. He has a lot of qualities. He just needs to keep working hard in the years ahead, and we'll see where his talent takes him.
Like most youngsters in the Marshall Islands, Kyle Paul began playing basketball at an early age. It's what young boys do here, especially in Majuro, where there are organized leagues. Growing up, Kyle honed his skills by shooting hoops with his friends on the small court which takes pride of place in the center of their village.
Basketball is the biggest thing in my life by far. I love it. and it's just part of who I am. I can't remember a time when I didn't play the sport. I live to play basketball, and if I couldn't play the sport, then I might just as well crawl away and die. That's how much it means to me.
Kyle is an only child, which is unusual in the Marshall Islands, where large families are the norm. Another thing that sets him apart here is his height. At 6 foot, he may be small by international basketball standards, but here, the schoolboy is one of the big men of the Marshall Islands. Kyle is in his final year at Assumption High, one of a handful of secondary schools in Majuro.
After school, my goal is to attend college in America on a basketball scholarship. That would be an amazing opportunity. I'd get to study and play basketball at a really high level and test myself against some great players. I'd improve so much. If it happens, I'll not only be representing my family, but also the whole of the country.
Leaving his picturesque homeland to live and play in America would be nothing new to Kyle. Between the ages of 12 and 16, he relocated to Hawaii whilst his mum was studying for a degree there. He attended a US high school, and it was during his time in the States that his basketball skills really blossomed. When he was 15, Kyle helped the Marshall Islands win their first ever Micronesian regional competition and was named tournament MVP. It was a proud moment for all those involved with basketball in the Marshall Islands and gave them an indication of what Kyle and the national team may be capable of achieving in the years ahead.
I see everyone in the Marshall Islands as my brothers and sisters. We're all one big family down here. I love this place, and it's always hard when I'm away from the islands. If I were to make it as a professional basketball player, I'd never forget where I'm from.
Despite the remote location of the Marshall Islands, Kyle's form has attracted attention from some colleges in Hawaii. And at a recent FIBA clinic held in Majuro, Kyle made a big impression on the coach from Australia, who helped develop current NBA star Patty Mills. The American teacher who coaches Kyle's high school basketball team too believes that the teenager has a special talent.
I think his game is good enough to play in an American university. Maybe go to a community college first, and then rise up to a larger university. Perhaps even play in Europe.
Kyle is the star player on his school team, and when Transworld Sport was in town, Assumption High were up against their rivals from the Marshall Islands High School. Kyle's time on the court is often restricted by his coach to make these school games more competitive. With Kyle getting plenty of playing time in the first half, his team pile on the points and establish a commanding 15-point lead.
I love watching the NBA. My favorite team is the San Antonio Spurs. I admire their coach, Greg Popovich, and I love Tony Parker and Tim Duncan. Those guys just make me want to be a better player.
Kyle takes a break from the action in the second half, which allows the opposition to get back into the game. In fact, they claw back the deficit and go on to take a surprise lead. Eager to reassert his side's control of the encounter, Kyle returns to the court in the final quarter. But shortly after coming on, disaster strikes for him and his team when he twists his right ankle and is forced to leave the game again. However, despite the injury, Kyle doesn't stay on the sidelines for long. He plays through the pain, but can't quite manage to win the game for his team, who lose by just a single point.
My ankle is really sore, but at least it's not broken. I'm disappointed to lose, but these things happen. It's part of sport. I'll come back stronger.
Such an attitude is crucial if this youngster is to fulfill his hoop dreams. The Marshall Islands has never produced a professional sportsman before, but this 17-year-old may just have the talent and determination to change all that in the forthcoming years. For a nation so passionate about this sport, Kyle Paul is aiming to put his remote homeland on the international basketball map.
Every night when I'm asleep, I have the same dream. That dream is going to America to play at college level and then making it to the NBA. Some might think I have no chance, that I'm wasting my time, but I don't. I've spent so much of my life playing this game, and I want to see it lead somewhere. I'm not going to let my dreams fade away.
We wish Kyle well in his quest.